Do you suffer from fear, anxiety, or worry? Is your life filled with trepidation? Well, this is no way to live. Welcome to Trepidation and Tranquility, a podcast dedicated to helping you overcome these demons. I'm your host, Kelly Mahoney. While I'm not a doctor, therapist, or psychoanalyst, I will tell you I am someone who has faced and conquered numerous fearful situations. And through my journey, I've discovered that the key to handling these challenges lies in a spiritual remedy. So each episode will explore different types of trepidations and lay out a positive program of action to help you overcome life's obstacles. I firmly believe that by incorporating and nurturing your spiritual life, you can conquer trepidation and embrace a life filled with tranquility. Join me as we embark on this transformative journey together. Welcome to Trepidation and Tranquility. Happy Doomsday, everybody! What do I mean by this? Well, if they were to make a weather forecast to describe me, it would say, you can expect Kelly to be sunny side up today with a chance of doom. Can you relate to this? I mean, does this sound familiar? Do you live life like me? Mostly happy and content, but always sure that something catastrophic is going to happen to ruin it all. Do you feel that doom is an inevitable part of life? And why do we feel like this? What is driving this constant undercurrent of sludge that permeates our serenity? Well, that's what we're going to be discussing this episode. Why do we have this fear? And what can we do to overcome it? Let's explore this topic together and see what we can come up with to quell the raging fear stream flowing within us. So I want to start off with a story about my husband. So February 29th, I'm packing up. I'm getting ready to head out to go on a trip with my dad and my son. We're heading to Disney to celebrate my son's spring break, and also his birthday was coming up. So it was going to be a big trip. We were excited to go. My husband had to stay home and work. So as I'm packing up, getting ready to pack our bags and head out to the happiest place on earth, the phone rings. And I answer it. It's my husband. I'm like, I don't have time for this. I got to get going. I got to get my bags packed. We got to get on the road and get going here. And when I answer the phone, my husband, he sounded really, really bleak. And I immediately knew something was going on. And he said, is Liam anywhere around? That's our son. He said, is Liam anywhere around you? And I said, no. And he goes, okay, well, I need to tell you, I lost my job. They just fired me. And in that instant, everything came tumbling down around me. I was suddenly put into a full-on tragic, this is the end of the world, doomsday scenario that I'm like, how the hell are we going to do this? What are we going to do? How are we going to survive? And so I had to put on a happy face and put on the show of my life for my son so he wouldn't know anything was going on. Of course, I told my father about it, so he was aware. And then I had to go through the process of dealing with this very real fear that was taking over my psyche at the time. And so, luckily, I've had some experience in this realm because this is not my first rodeo dealing with unemployment. I am I'm an actor from Los Angeles. I chose to be an actor by profession. So unemployment for me wasn't something that just happened. Unemployment was a career choice for me. One thing I've learned dealing with unemployment over the years as an actor in LA is that God has always got me. 100%. No question about it. And when I finally would let go of the worry and stop trying to handle things myself and make things the way I thought they should be, and just let go of it and allowed my higher power to come in and take over the process, that's when things got so much better. And everything was truly taken care of. Not according to my plan, because my plans suck, but according to God's plans. And God's plans are always much bigger and much greater than I could have ever imagined. So when I get out of God's way, that's when things happen. It reminds me of a story of when I first moved to LA. When I first moved to California, I didn't have a job and I didn't know where I was going to get a job, but I needed a job. So I took it upon myself. I said, you know what? I'm going to become a courier. Now, why I thought to become a courier is beyond me. Number one, I'm a terrible driver. Number two, I'm horrible with directions, and they didn't even have GPS back then. They had Thomas guides. I had to use a Thomas guide to try and get around, which that in and of itself was a whole other problem. And also, I just didn't know how to be a courier. In fact, I did end up getting a job, and I remember the first time showing up for my job, I walked in and I was like, okay, here we go. And I took the package and I said, all right, I just need you to sign here. And the person looked at me and said, I think they're supposed to sign for it when you deliver it. And I was like, right, got it. And then I was off and running, and I slowly worked my way around the hills of Hollywood. I was miserable. Every day I got up was a chore, but I was sure this is what God's will was for me at the time. And at the time, I'm early in recovery as well. So I'm not really sure how to deal with fear, because I learned how to deal with fear through my 12-step recovery process. It's just a beautiful way to take a look at yourself and find a spiritual solution to handling fear. But at the time, I was so new, I didn't know. Literally, I was months sober at the time. I was so bad a driver, I actually got pulled over for a DUI in the middle of one of my shifts. And I was like 30 days into my sobriety. And I was like, no, I'm sober, I promise. The guy didn't believe me. So much so that I had to get out and do a field sobriety test on the middle of I-5. So I was lost and I didn't know where I was going. Anyways, I prayed and prayed and prayed. God, show me the way, show me the way. I was so fearful of going it alone without a job. Show me the way, God. Just give me any sign at all. And then my car literally ended up in a ditch in the middle of El Nino. They had to cop cars had to come pull it out. And I'm like, okay, any sign at all, God, I'm watching. And the truth of the matter was, I was so fearful of letting go of this job, even though I knew it wasn't the right job for me. I hated this job. I was miserable. And it wasn't why I had come out to LA. I didn't come out to LA to become a courier for Midnight Express. That was not my goal. And eventually, I ended up getting tendonitis and I couldn't drive anymore. I'm like, I had to take workman's comp. And at that point, I just said, all right, you know what? I surrender. I give up. I don't know what to do here. So I'm going to give it over to you, God. I'm going to trust that everything's going to be okay, because that's what they tell me I need to do. I'm going to file for unemployment and do the footwork, and we'll see what happens here. And as I did that, I felt so free. I remember feeling so free that I'd finally surrendered, that I didn't have to live in the fear anymore. I was like, okay, whatever's going to happen is going to happen. I'm going to trust that God's going to take care of me. And sure enough, wouldn't you know, as I'm literally making this decision, the phone rings. And it was like my little flip phone back then. I picked up my flip phone. I was like, hello, it's Kelly. And it was Nickelodeon, who I was doing shows for Nickelodeon at the time on the road. And they were few and far between at the time when I had moved to LA. They're like, hey, Kelly, we got a brand new tour we want you to star in. I'm like, what? Okay. literally as I had just made the decision that I was going to surrender, that I didn't have to work for Midnight Express, and I couldn't anyway. God kind of made me subservient by giving me tendonitis, which thank God he did. Anyways, I took the tour, and in the weeks that I didn't have the tour dates, I ended up working my other shows at Universal Studios Hollywood, because I was also working there as kind of a fill-in actor for other actors. And so it worked out that in the end, I didn't need to collect one single unemployment check. Every single week just was taken care of. The money just came when the money was needed. And that was such a lesson for me. And eventually I ended up getting a full-time gig and not having to worry about it, and on till the next show when I had to deal with my next round of unemployment. But as I kept going on my journey, I learned that God, if I can truly surrender to my higher power and let go of the fear, forgetting everything's all right. That was a great acronym given to me. If I stop forgetting everything's all right, because if I trust that God's going to handle things in the most perfect possible way, I don't have anything to worry about. And so I was reminded of that story when my husband lost his job. And I said, we know this. We know how this works. Well, let's go back to the basics. Just trust, just for today, that everything's going to be okay. Do I have food in the fridge? Yes. Gas in the car? Yes. Everybody's healthy? Yes. Roof over the head? Yes. All right. We're covered. We're fine for today. And so that's how it went. And that whole first month, it was just like I hadn't known it to be. We didn't have to collect any money out of my savings account. And money just came when money was needed, between the unemployment and just random money showing up. It was bizarre. But then again, it wasn't, because that was God at work. And I knew God was there and God was taking care of. So in the end, I thought, well, chances of a 62-year-old man getting fired, getting another job, is next to nothing. But I'm still going to pray. I'm still going to ask God to get me through each day. Because when you're going through these life storms, it's easy to future trip. So I had to literally say, no, we're just going to live in the day. We're just going to live in the day, and we're going to get through the day. And just for today, everything's okay. Food's in the fridge, car's in the driveway, money's in the bank, and our bills are getting paid. So slowly but surely, between all my little odd jobs that I had going on at the time and his unemployment, we managed to stay financially afloat. And thank God. And in the end, our prayers were answers. We survived. Brian got a job. I couldn't believe it when he did, but I was like, thank you, God. Thank you, God, for answering our prayers. And I was like, finally, we got a job. And so he got this job, paying very well, with this great new company. But guess what? Now I'm back to square one with worrying about him losing the job again. It's the same old pattern. Why do I have this constant undercurrent of fear? So that's what we're going to deal with here. We're going to kind of break down the doomsday scenario. And here's the breakdown. Let's go into how we're going to deal with this. Okay? I have a 3-step process that I do. It's called name it, claim it, tame it. Okay? So number 1, name it. What's the doom that I'm projecting? Well, I'm fearful Brian is going to lose his job after just getting back to it, and that, it'll be just like when he lost his job for that 7 years. So I guess if I'm going to name it, the doom is Brian's employment affecting our family security. That's the doom that I'm worried about. So let's claim it. So what if he loses a job? What's the worst thing that will happen? It's already happened. We survived. He would go back to unemployment. We would live off of savings, and God will provide us with the rest when needed. If he has to, maybe it's just God pushing him to an early retirement. tame it. Step 3, tame it. So it all stems, this doom and gloom that I'm projecting, it all stems from not trusting God to take care of us, as God has always taken care of us. It's a matter of trusting God. Somebody once gave me the acronym for fear: forgetting everything's all right. If I'm trusting God to take care of us during any time, then we're okay. So here's the solution. Let's talk about the solution. How am I going to get peace and the tranquility I need through the trepidation? So what's the solution? Well, one thing I need to do is I need to change the message of doom pervading my thoughts. And that can happen through a mantra. One seems that if I'm starting to go down that, my mind starts going down that path, I need to stop it in its tracks and get it on something else. When it goes down to the path of saying, Brian's going to lose his job, we're going to be homeless, the family's never going to survive, what are we going to do? I need to take that message and say, no, I'm okay just for today. I've got to pull it back to trusting God. I'm okay just for today. Or God will guide, God will provide. Maybe you like scripture. Try something like, the Lord is my refuge, I shall not want. Saying these things over and over and over again changes the raging river of fear and doom to a peaceful trickle of grace and serenity. And then I feel relief. So let's get going. Here's my challenge to you. This is my program of practical action for you. If you're feeling a constant drone of impending doom, it's time to name it, claim it, and tame it. Okay? First, ask yourself, okay, what's the source of this constant doom flowing through you? Why do you have this? Okay? Next, what would happen if this fear came to fruition? Let's face it. Let's face the fear head on. What would happen? What's the worst that would happen? Now then, I want you to think, have you survived a fear like this in the past? How did you handle it? Name it, claim it, tame it. Okay? Now, consider trying a spiritual remedy. What if you reached out to a higher power, whether it's God, Buddha, Allah, nature, the universe, love, great spirit, whatever you choose to connect with? Ask it for help. Ask it for help. Why not? Give it a try. It's not going to hurt. Ask for help every day, several times a day if needed. Put it out there and then just let go and trust that it's being taken care of in the most perfect possible way according to God's plan for you. Create a mantra that quiets that raging river of worry. Say it over and over when doomsday thoughts start to take hold of your mind. Again, here's some of my favorites. Everything is okay just for today. Thy will be done, God. I can do all things through my God who strengthens me. I can't. God can. God will. So I'm going to let him. Feel free to use any of these or come up with your own. Even a single word like peace. Peace. Peace can work wonders. Repeat it until it washes over you, calming you and offering you the relief you seek. So I'm going to leave you with this inspirational quote I found from John H. Groberg. He says, "Sometimes God calms the storm. Sometimes he lets the storm rage and calms his child." So that's what we have to know, We can ask for the storm to be quieted, but maybe the storm's going to rage. And that's okay. As long as we are okay inside, it doesn't matter how crazy the storm gets outside. The inner peace keeps the turmoil at bay, and we can live in tranquility. This concludes our episode of Trepidation and Tranquility. I hope this has helped you as much as it's helped me today. And I hope that this episodes and the future episodes we explore together help you to find a little more peace and tranquility in these trying times of your life. If you're enjoying these episodes, go ahead and subscribe. Let's keep in touch. You can follow me on Facebook under Keynote Experiences. Subscribe to my YouTube station as well, Kelly Mahoney, Mahony 8319. Let's keep in touch. I hope this episode has helped you walk a little less in trepidation today and fills your life with more tranquility. Until next week, this has been Trepidation and Tranquility. Music provided by Kevin McLeod and Compotech.com. Adding the Sun. License under Creative Commons by Attribution 4.0 license. http://creativecommons.org/licenses/by/4.0/